your opportunity to listen and learn from the most successful people driving growth and success in Palm Beach County and beyond. Welcome to the Business in Paradise Palm Beach podcast with Cary Stamp, founder of Cary Stamp & Company, Principled Wealth Advisors. Cary and his guests share stories and insights from Palm Beach County's most successful executives, entrepreneurs, and community leaders. Learn how they made it to where they are today, what principles guide them, how they mentor others to achieve success, and more.
Thanks for joining the podcast today. My name is Cary Stamp, and you're listening to the Business in Paradise podcast. My guest today has had a major impact on what Palm Beach County looks like. His name is Donaldson Hearing, and he's the president of Cotleur Hearing Landscape Architects. So we're really excited to have Don on the podcast today so that he can share a little bit about his story and what Palm Beach County means to him. Don, welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thank you so much, Cary. Glad to be here.
Don, you started your business with your partner, Rob Cotleur. How long ago did you start Cotleur Hearing Landscape Architects?
We started in May of 1991. That's it will be coming up on 30 years. We're just entering our 30th year right now.
And so when you started in 91, so we all know that PGA National was probably already there, at least some form of it. But what were some of the big projects that were happening in the northern Palm Beach County area, or even in the Palm Beach County area, that you were working on when you guys first got off the ground?
Interesting enough, back in 1991, our biggest client at the time was Berg and DeVasta. So we had the opportunity to work with Buzz DeVasta and Cliff Berg, and they were very loyal people. They took us under their wing, and we were working on a number of residential communities in Palm Beach Gardens and in Jupiter. It was a fun time. Now, back then, many of you who understand the history of North County is much different than South County by a couple of reasons. First of all, that the majority of the land in northern Palm Beach County back from actually from the late 60s all the way through almost the year 1998, the land was owned by the John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation. Mr. MacArthur, had died, a decade prior. All that land was owned by the foundation, and the foundation was very strategic about how they released their property. So they had a vision, even before Mr. MacArthur passed away, of what Palm Beach Gardens and what Jupiter should look like. And they did things in the planning realm that help establish some guidelines and create value for their assets. And some of those things include, for example, in Palm Beach Gardens, they established what we'd call parkway corridors along PGA Boulevard, along North Lake Boulevard, at least when you go out west, along Military Trail as you enter into Palm Beach Gardens. And so that's why PGA Boulevard has such a great presence today. They also were very active in the zoning process, and they set up a zoning or land use procedure that generally would require developers to seek planned unit developments, which would enable greater oversight by the city in the review process, but also would stimulate greater creativity on the designers and provide a higher quality of innovation and design. And so that's why we see a lot of those things. So for years, from 1991, when we started our firm, till 1998, the MacArthur Foundation released only a parcel at a time, very few properties. So one of the first projects that I worked on, actually even before we started our company, was when they were developing the Gardens Mall. We helped develop the master plan that was utilized as the basis for the DRI. But jumping forward to 1991, we were working on communities such as in Jupiter, it was Maplewood development. So we did several communities within.
Is that where you're sitting right now, Don?
I happen to be. Our office ultimately was built in Maplewood. At the time, Indiantown Road was still a two-lane road. So there was a lot of vacant land, and we had the opportunity to become engaged in and provide design services to shape what northern Palm Beach County looks like today.
It's amazing what the impact the MacArthur Foundation has had on North County. And one of my prior guests on the podcast, Joe Storica, who was CEO of the PGA of America, talked at length about some of his dealings with the MacArthur folks as they were creating PGA National, as they were moving the old JDM Country Club and moving over to PGA National for their headquarters as well as the resort. So awesome stuff. Don, before you came to Palm Beach County, where'd you come from? Where were you living?
I had the pleasure to grow up here in Jupiter, moved down when I was in third grade as a young man and moved over to Jupiter Inlet Colony. So my grandfather was one of the first mayors there, so we followed him to Florida. And so I did truly grow up in paradise, being able to go to the beach every day, surf, fish, dive, boating, all the things that any young person would love.
So you grow up here, you go off to the University of Florida. Is that the one you went to?
I did. I'm a diehard Gator and have two daughters that are Gators. So I went off to college and graduated in 1982.
At some point along the way, you meet your absolutely lovely wife, Suzanne. When did she enter the picture?
Suzanne entered the picture probably in the very early 90s. Actually, probably was 1990. So I knew Suzanne prior. I taught Sunday school at our local church, and she was one of my students. And so, but then Suzanne went to she went to Jordan on a missionary journey for 2 years, and she was gone.
And just to be clear, it's not like you were some 30-year-old Sunday school teacher and she was a young kid in Sunday school.
No, she's a year younger than I am.
Okay.
So yeah, so it was a college and career class that I taught. So she went off to Jordan. She came back, and I had this wonderful party for her at my house over in the Shores. And then, of course, I got busy as I would typically do, and probably didn't speak to her for another several months. And she called me one night, late at night. It was probably 8:30, 9 o'clock, but I went to bed early, and she called me, and she said, "Hey, do you want to go out to lunch tomorrow?" Of course, I didn't remember a thing that she said. So she called me the next day at work and said, "Hey, do you remember our call last night? You were going to take me out to lunch." And so I said, "Oh, of course, I remember the call." So, and we went to Schooners. So that was, you could say that was our first date. Oddly enough, I was leaving the next day on a blind date, a trip to the Bahamas with two other guys and several other ladies. And so I went on that trip, and I came back, and Suzanne swept me off my feet. And 6 months later, we were married.
Fantastic. And you have three girls, two that are Gators, and one that was
was a Palm Beach Atlantic sailfish. So she's a sailfish and is the doctorate at Wellington Regional.
Fantastic. All right. And I know your girls are fantastic. You've got a great family. There's some grandchildren there.
Well, we have one foster baby, little baby. We have one foster baby, little baby Jay, and two foster girls. So Ariel and her husband, Jared, are foster parents, and they have three children that they've now had a little bit over 2 years. So this is their third set. And 6 months ago, they got a little baby Jay. And so, in fact, Suzanne's watching baby Jay today. He is as cute as a button and just a joy to be around.
And that's amazing work that they've been doing. And I know that they've made a profound impact on the lives of some kids that really needed some guidance and some help and some nurturing. So thank them for me. So Don, you start the business in 1991 with Rob. You're working for Berg and DeVosta. You're doing the land design and the planning. And you also are starting to get involved into some of the municipal I don't know if I want to say politics, but in the municipal planning, in dealing with the different jurisdictions and cities around North Palm Beach County. Tell me a little bit about how that evolved and how it came to be that now you guys are working on some of the biggest projects in the county. What was the progression like?
Well, as with any business, you start out and you're doing small projects, and you take and capitalize on each opportunity. And so we were very, very fortunate to have the ability to have clients that were just exceptionally loyal. So Bergen DeVasta, they were very, very loyal. There was a one man at Bergen DeVasta. His name was Charles Hathaway, ex-military guy. And he taught me a great work ethic, taught me great business. Of course, if I stepped out of line, I can promise you he would kick my butt. But then we had other people who were of influence. Had the opportunity to work with Bruce Rendina, who is in the medical field. Bruce reached out to us, gave us some opportunity. He demanded a lot, but was exceptionally loyal. So we took each opportunity and made sure that we were able to deliver on the promise. And one stone or one blessing led to the next blessing, and led to us being involved in some of the largest projects in the county. Of course, in 1996, we had the opportunity. That was a large piece of property that was ultimately sold to the group that developed Abacoa, Cypress Realty and George DeGuardiola and Bruce Rendina. Well, we were brought in by DeVasta to do all the residential communities. And so it was really, really exciting from 1996 through literally just a year or so ago, to see each building block build upon each other, each of the residential communities develop, and then the opportunity to work on each of the commercial developments, providing great design. And then in 2013, we were sought out by Minto Communities to assist them in developing what is now the 39th city in Palm Beach County, which is Westlake. And we had the opportunity to start on that from the ground level when it was only an orange grove. That's all it was an orange grove. And we had the pleasure to work with the developer to develop a strategy, to work with the local government. In that case was, at the time, was Palm Beach County, to develop a strategy to build a new city, a new community nucleus that was built out in that sprawling acreage area that would ultimately become a center of the Central Western community. And today, that's coming out of the ground, and literally we've had the opportunity to draw every line, place every street light, every stop sign, every tree, every shrub, every house, every amenity, and it's just blossoming. And it's just a great sense of satisfaction to, see the built world come to life, but also see it to come to life in a very quality, sustainable way.
Yeah, Don, so since 1991, you have had the opportunity to work on some of the most amazing and cutting-edge developments in Palm Beach County. But you also started a business, and starting a business is not an easy thing to do by any stretch of the imagination. So I'm sure it wasn't a straight uphill climb for you and Rob as you got Cotleur Hearing going.
Cary, I say it's almost a God story. It truly was we actually started in 1991. So if any of you remember what happened in 1991, well, that was the savings and loan crisis. And so we were working with another group of professionals in 1991 where we were 5% partners, but we were jointly and severally liable. And so Suzanne and I got married in December of 1990. So in probably 2 days before we got married, I was advised that that the company was virtually bankrupt, and that I would not be getting a paycheck for any time soon. Of course, we had already planned this very elaborate honeymoon, so you can just imagine how I was thinking. But so we started in poverty. Literally the day before I left for our honeymoon, I received a letter from the IRS saying, "Oh, by the way, you're behind in paying couple $100,000 in payroll taxes, and please be advised, we're coming after you to collect every penny. So you could just imagine how I felt going, getting married and moving forward. So we continued to kind of struggle along with our architects through the end of April of 1991. And then we just made the decision that, we have a huge book of business. The only way to survive is that Rob and I were going to go do our own thing. And we took that leap. We had, I think, 3 or 4 other employees that directly worked for us at the time. We asked them to forego a paycheck for 1 month. Say, listen, we'll pay you back, go 1 month and forego a paycheck. And everybody did that for 1 month. And from that point forward to this day, we have never had an unprofitable month. And I'll tell you that last year was a record year, not only in terms of our top line, but our bottom line revenue. We've continued to grow year after year, and it's just been a very, very satisfying. And we've done that on being on a debt-free basis. So we don't owe anybody a penny, and we've done it never borrowing a dollar for anything that we need to do. And so we've learned so much through the years. I knew nothing. I had to learn, I didn't even know how to turn on a computer. I didn't even know how to do accounting. And we learned, and it was just one step at a time.
Yeah, Don, in your business, well, in my business, we have a process that's called principled wealth. And so for each of our new clients, we take them through our detailed process and go into, here's what we need to be thinking about now. Here's what we need to be thinking about next. What's the process like? Somebody comes to you and they say, listen, I want to do a development. I want to hire your firm to work with me to guide me through this development. What does Cotleur Hearing do?
Good question. So we do a wide variety of work. We do a lot of public sector work where we're basically submitting our qualifications for new community centers, new town halls, new parks, a lot of work with the Department of Transportation. But on the private side, most of our work comes from a landowner or a developer who's purchasing a piece of property. They're purchasing it in northern Palm Beach County or St. Lucie County, Treasure Coast, where we have very sophisticated what we call entitlement processes or governmental approval processes that require good knowledge, strategy, and expertise to navigate. Because of our experience, they come to us and they say, how are we potentially going to get this done? Often they'll come and say, provide us a due diligence. So if it's a large corporate entity, we'll typically start and provide a very lengthy or in-depth due diligence that looks at everything from land use to zoning to issues dealing with vegetation, wetlands, issues dealing with geotechnical things that are underground. When I say the geotechnical, the dirt, is there muck? Is the soil going to drain? And we help them understand those details. But then ultimately we have to develop a strategy. What can we build on the property? How much density? How much intensity? What are the issues that we're going to see? What do we want the built environment to look like? And we lay out that strategy for our clients. And one of the things that has really, that we've learned over the years, that it is just so important to be upfront and totally honest with your clients, help them have a realistic expectation about what that process is going to look like. Some consultants, a client will come to them and they'll say, yeah, I can get that done. We can get it done, no problem. Well, that's not necessarily true. There's a lot of pain often to get through that process. And so we found that we can be much more successful when we provide a realistic expectation and help guide our clients through those obstacles. And when those obstacles come, it's much easier to get over them. And we try to provide that consultation. So we started at the strategy level, and then ultimately we get to pick up the pencil. We get to pick up the pencil and we get to draw, and that's really where we get so much of our fulfillment, whether we're drawing a brand new subdivision or earlier today, just before this call, I'm actually in the process of tearing down a development that I did earlier. So in downtown at the Gardens, we originally did that and started that in the year 2000. It got built in 2007. And now I get to work on tearing it down and redoing it. We're building a hotel and residential and all these interesting things there at the site. But that's the fun part. We pull out the pencil and we get to begin to develop what does that built environment look like. And then, of course, we have to go sell that built environment through that entitlement process that we referred to. And then, of course, the greatest gratification is that when we're under construction and we're able to see those spaces and the public places that we create come to life and basically become areas where people will gather and have the opportunity to take their children to and experience the space in the way that we envisioned it, and hopefully that space communicates to them some of the life that the designer wanted them to experience when they enjoyed it.
Don, you said something when you were talking about setting expectations for clients, and I often use the expression that I tell people what they need to hear, not necessarily what they want to hear. Do you have a saying or a mantra that you think kind of guides how you interact or deal with your clients or just in life in general?
Well, the mantra obviously is to do everything with integrity, transparency. I really look at it as being maybe it's saying what somebody needs to hear because they do need to hear it. We just want to ensure that going forward that they understand and have a realistic expectation about what the process is going to look like. Because and in many ways it becomes very, very freeing because as a planner and a designer, and I'm sure you see it, Cary, as a financial planner dealing with somebody's assets, you take on huge responsibility. And so you feel that responsibility for a client. When we're going through these processes, it's not inexpensive. The governmental and entitlement process is very, very expensive. And so you're spending money. And I think that the saying that I say is that in the world of land planning, it doesn't have to make sense. So when we get things and we receive comments back from agencies, it's so easy to try to say, oh, that's ridiculous. The answer is it is, but it doesn't have to make sense, and it often isn't rational. And so sometimes you have to approach it in a different way.
That's sometimes how the government works, I guess, right?
Well, never fails.
Yeah. Hey, Don, I know you guys run a fantastic internship program, and you get a lot of young people that come in from your favorite university. Tell me, if you're sitting down with a young person right now that wants to go into your business, what advice would you give them? What would you tell them to do? And what do you think that you would say to them that this is the future of the landscape architecture business and the land planning business?
Well, we first tell them, and we do, we reach out to our local University of Florida, and we recruit there annually. We also are very involved throughout the year with the students and try to participate in the programs and give back. But the internship program is very, very valuable. Encouraging young people to go into the field of landscape architecture is something that we do with pride because it's an amazing industry. There's so many different facets or angles that people can go into. Someone who just loves plants might choose a path that would be dealing with simply high-end residential landscape architecture. And that's all that they do. And there are people out there that do it very, very well. Others like the urban environment, and they like to have opportunities in designing things in what we refer the urban realm, where there's a lot of placemaking, where we're creating places for gathering. Others look at going into the entertainment and the amusement park realm. So there's so many avenues for an individual young person to go. We encourage them to find out where their love is and their passion is, and to follow that passion and to specialize. And if they do that, success will follow. follow your dream, do what you do the best that you can do. Don't worry about the money. The money will follow. That's the advice that we give. We love having the opportunity to pour into these young people. We have an intern in right now from the University of Florida. Unfortunately, we had two that were coming from the University of Wisconsin that we were very excited about. But because of the COVID virus, we had to put that on hold.
So, Don, you use the word success, which means a lot of things, means different things to different people. What's Don Hearing's definition of success?
Well, first, I think success starts first at home with family. So raising having, a wonderful wife and a great family, that's the first part of success. And I'm very, very proud of my girls. They're all great achievers, and but more important to that, they all believe in giving back to the community, and which has also been one of the philosophies that we have had when we started our firm here at Cotleur Hearing. We believe that it's very important to give back and to participate in the community. And we encourage all of our staff members to find something that they can participate in and give back. Because we have found, there's a saying that it's more blessed to give than to receive. I can tell you that that's absolutely true. Whenever we're doing things for our nonprofits, our charities, our churches, our synagogues, honestly, whenever we're doing those activities, it seems like more work comes in the door than you could imagine. And I can't answer it. It might sound kind of hokey, but it's the truth. So we strongly believe in the philanthropic part of what we do, giving back, participating. I know that in particular, we're very involved with our churches and our synagogues, Christ Fellowship, Calvary Chapel, Palm Beach County, we're Palm Beach Gardens Jewish Center, the Jewish Center here in Abacoa. We're very involved with My Clinic, which is something that I've been very proud of having the opportunity to get involved with. That's a local free clinic right here in Jupiter that's able to serve the underserved that don't have good access to medical care. Great organization. I've had the opportunity to serve on the board of the Business Development Board and the Chamber. And if you're involved with those agencies and you're able to give back to the community, it's really exciting. Just this past week, we've had the opportunity to work with the Chamber and the PGA Corridor Association, which I sit on the board, and to work with the City of Palm Beach Gardens, where we put together within a period of about 2 weeks a program the City and Chamber are rolling out to provide business assistance grants up to $20,000 to 50 small businesses in Palm Beach Gardens, where they'll be able to get access to forgivable money to help survive the COVID-19 epidemic. And so it took a few hours of our time to donate, but the benefit that we'll have to our community will be long lasting.
Yeah, and Don, I can testify to that firsthand with my involvement in the Edna Runner Tutorial Center in West Jupiter. Your team was fantastic as we were going through the process of first purchasing the property next door to the center, getting that property cleaned up and zoned and ready to go. And now we have an absolutely beautiful brand new facility with the landscape and everything else planned by Cotleur Hearing. So again, thank you for your part in that. Your firm was fantastic to work with. So, Don, you mentioned that one of the definitions of success is having and raising a great family. And I'm not going to say who told me this, but somebody might have mentioned that you work more than the average number of hours that a normal person works. So how do you keep a work-life balance and keep that family harmony going with the schedule that you have?
That's definitely the case. I have, as an entrepreneur, I have that drive and have the commitment to ensure that we deliver on the promise of excellence to everything that we do. And then, of course, you're doing a lot of nonprofit things as well, so that adds to it. It's a difficult balance. Before COVID-19, one of the things that my lovely wife and I like to do is to travel. So we are committed. We do at least 2 trips every year, 3 to 4 weeks, where we travel most often to Europe. Right now, today, I should be sitting in the villa that we had rented in Tuscany, but I'm not. I'm here talking to you, Cary, instead of sipping on a wonderful glass of wine. But so we love to travel. In the summer, we were boating in the Bahamas. We've got trips planned for the fall, and so we just do our best to get together and to love each other as a family and have as much quality time as we can.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that. I was supposed to be sitting in Bali right now, probably having a cocktail on the beach. So we often find ourselves down at, you and Suzanne are going somewhere, and either Sharon and I are 6 months behind you and taking that trip, or we're 6 months ahead of you. Of all of the amazing trips that you guys have taken, what are a couple of your favorite spots that you really just love?
That is so difficult. Of course, we love every part of Italy. So, Italy is just an amazing place, and Italy never gets old. But I think of probably one of the most exciting trips that I had was 2 years ago. We went to the Dalmatian coast of Croatia, and it's just absolutely spectacular. Croatia is a beautiful countryside. Of course, it was part of Yugoslavia and other parts of some of the countries there that were fighting for many years, but it's beautiful. And that particular waterway, which is the Adriatic Sea, and I'm a boater and a water guy, is some of the most beautiful water in the world, because all of the water drains directly out of the mountains, Swiss mountains, and the Dolomites, with all that beautiful limestone, and it's just so spectacular and blue. So that Dalmatian coast of Croatia was very spectacular. And then last year we went to Portugal, which was a wonderful find. So we loved Portugal, and we're planning a trip to go back to Portugal in September. We're going to end up doing the northern part of Portugal, up in the area of Porto, and also along the Atlantic coast there, which is just amazing. But so many parts of the world are just spectacular, and we just like getting out and seeing one. So each one is a new favorite.
Yeah, again, Sharon and I would go to Italy every single year if we had the opportunity and the time to do it. And I think you were probably about a year behind us going to Portugal, because I think we were there 2 years ago. Loved going and just looking out at the harbor in Cascais, which is an absolutely beautiful part of the world. So we've been very fortunate. I know that you guys have been blessed with the ability to take some fantastic trips. Don, as we turn now kind of back to living in Palm Beach County. So I chose to move here. You were moved down here by your family. I really fell in love with this place in 2002 when I was at the Breakers Hotel. It was November, and Sharon and I were thinking, geez, do we have to leave this meeting that we're at? We were at a conference. Do we have to leave this meeting and go back to Chicago? And we looked at each other and we said, not really, but let's figure out how we can orient my business so that I could live in Florida, continue to run my business from Chicago, and then eventually start up again down here. What does living in Palm Beach County mean to you? Have you ever considered going anywhere else?
It's a spectacular place. I grew up on Jupiter Inlet Colony, the beach and the inlet and the intercoastal and boating, and we were outside 24/7 as a kid. And so having the opportunity to come back and be here, I have my little piece of paradise over on Sawfish Bay. And we just love the what we say is the salt life. We love the opportunity to go fishing and to go diving and to go boating and to go paddleboarding and to go kayaking, or even just to take our feet and put them in the sand on the beach. It's just spectacular. And Florida has a season. So, people tell you can't tell the seasons in Florida. Let me tell you, it has wonderful seasons, and we're getting ready to go into my favorite season. I know you might say it might be hot and sweaty. but my boat is sitting on the davits ready to go and loaded, and looking forward to going to the Bahamas, and the Bahamas opening up this summer. I have my reservations, so we get on the boat and run on over and have the opportunity to fish for wonderful seafood and dive and spear and enjoy the beautiful creation that sits out there. So I love Florida, and I love northern Palm Beach County, and I don't see myself even when I retire, which I hope to do in 5 years, I'm not leaving this area.
Yeah, and Sharon and I are available when you need somebody to go to the Bahamas with you on the boat.
That's good. Well, it's fun. We went out tuna fishing 2 weeks ago, so had a fun time and had a nice run. We didn't go touch land, but we were certainly over in that area.
And so you mentioned the idea or the concept of retirement. Tell us what's going on with Cotleur Hearing and where you see the future of the firm going, and how are things changing in your organization?
Well, that's a great question. And so, Cary and I are involved in a group called Vistage, which is a local CEOs group. And I think I've been involved close to 10 years now. And from the very first day that I joined Vistage, the concept of making sure that you have a succession plan in place was literally ingrained into my soul. And it wasn't just simply so that you had an exit strategy. It was so that your business would have the opportunity to live on and to be prepared for when that day comes. Right now we have approximately close to 40 employees. So we have a lot of employees and people that we care for on a daily basis. And so it was important for us to ensure that we have a plan in place for the business to move on, and for the people that work for us to see that opportunity for continued growth. So it took about 3.5 years. I can't tell you it was simple and easy, but we put together a succession plan and executed on that in August of 2019. And we brought on, as a part of that, 4 additional partners who I'm very proud of, to share our drive, our entrepreneurial spirit. They've come on and have purchased a portion of the company, and we're going to continue that succession plan while we're here, where we can train them on a daily basis to take on the company as we slow down and come to, I think I'll probably never come to a point of retirement, but certainly slow down maybe from a 80-hour week to a 30-hour week or something that looks like that. It's been a lot of fun watching these people. Cary, I think Nicole Plunkett, who is an amazing young leader, very involved, has her own national nonprofit called Future Landscape Architects of America, where she's gone nationally with a nonprofit to train kids that start in elementary school and train them with curriculum about what landscape architecture is all about. But it's so much fun watching my partners, as they are now, just grow every day in knowledge, and having the opportunity to work alongside them and to pour into them and to teach them the lessons of not only doing your business as a landscape architect or as a planner, but also to understand how do you run a business. Because running a business, there are a lot of very, very successful people that are unsuccessful at running businesses. And it's important that we have the opportunity to teach them. So the succession plan is going very well, and I'm happy to have gotten that completed.
Yeah, the business owner is a little bit different than just being the technician. One of my favorite books, and I give it to every new person that I hear that's starting their own business, is The E-Myth by Michael Gerber, which describes how you institute and implement systems and make your business run more effectively so that you can kind of pull yourself out of the business and it'll continue to operate. Don, last question for you. Do you have a favorite book that you would tell a new entrepreneur you should really spend some time learning and reading about this subject that you think would make an impact on them?
Well, I have a couple of them. The first, which has always left an indelible mark on me, is part of the Jim Collins Good to Great series, but it was called Great by Choice. So there's good to great, there's built to last, but great by choice really kind of stuck with me. And it was the story of 10 similar companies in similar industries and how those companies fared, over a 20-year period. So they looked at a comparison between, say, AMD, a chip maker, and Intel. They looked at the difference at the time, again, this was written a while ago, between Apple and Microsoft. Of course, we know the Apple story, and that's certainly turned around. But Microsoft, certainly at the time took huge market share away from Apple. And then they looked at Pacific Southwest versus Southwest Airlines. Both started at the exact same time. One went to huge success and is one of the most successful and profitable airlines in the world today, and the other failed. And it was it left a mark. And I always remember the one thing the CEO of Intel, said, and he said, it's so important that we maintain oxygen containers. In other words, that we maintain some resiliency so that if and when a downturn comes, that we can get beyond it. And so that stuck with us, and that we started our company based on the concept of being debt-free and being fiscally strong and fiscally smart. And so when the downturn came in 2008, we had those oxygen containers to rely on, and we made it through wonderfully. Again, we never have had an unprofitable month in 30 years of history. The other one that I like a lot is called Little Bets, and it's all about failing quickly. There's nothing wrong with failure. Failure is good. Failure is a good thing, and it's just, if you're going to fail fast. And then learn from that and utilize that experience to implement a success. And so we talk a lot, we use that a lot even with our staff, because we encourage them to make a mistake. There's nothing wrong with making a mistake. If you're not making a mistake, you're probably not working hard enough. But when you make the mistake, learn from it.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I tell my staff that all the time. If you're not making mistakes, you're not trying hard enough. Listen, Don, this has been a great conversation, and I cannot thank you enough for your time this afternoon. My guest today has been Donaldson Hearing. Don is the president of Cotleur Hearing Landscape Architects. He's one of the most influential landscape designers and land planners in Palm Beach County, and it's been my pleasure to have you on the podcast today. Don, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for listening to the Business in Paradise Palm Beach podcast with Cary Stamp, founder of Cary Stamp & Company, Principal Wealth Advisors. Click the subscribe button below to be notified when new episodes become available. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guests and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of the Commonwealth Financial Network. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning. Cary Stamp & Company is located at 110 Bridge Road, Tequesta, Florida, 33469. Securities and advisory services offered through Commonwealth Financial Network member FINRA SIPC, a registered investment advisor.